Does this sound like you? You've been dabbling in Commander now with your first precon or two. You've experimented with some deck edits and you have got an overwhelming sense of achievement because you've realized that the changes you made did not absolutely fuck up your deck and suddenly you're not getting spanked by your friends nearly as much.
Shake it! Shake it! Shake it!
You feel the time has finally come to take the leap out of Noobville and join the ranks of seasoned veteran players by building your very first original deck that speaks to your personality and playstyle. Well, my friends,
you're not alone.
I decided to make this video today because I myself have decided to take this plunge, so I thought I'd film the process for you guys to enjoy and who knows, maybe even learn a thing or two along the way. Now, I've been playing Commander for over 6 months now, so I feel like I have a fairly good understanding of what makes a deck functional, especially after watching some other channels' videos on how to build your very first Commander deck. But who knows, maybe I'll build an absolute pile of dysfunctional cardboard shit, but hey, that's all part of the fun. So I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get into the kitchen and let's start brewing our very first Commander deck. First things first, we're going to go to Google and we're going to use 2 websites today mainly. One is called Scryfall and one is called Architect. So we're going to go onto Scryfall first. Here we go, Scryfall right here. And what this is essentially a huge database for every Magic the Gathering card. So I actually already have an idea of the commander that I want for this deck. So my thought process was, first of all, I want to build a deck around the new Bloomburrow cards. So first things first, if we click on advanced search here, we are going to go to sets. Click on Bloomburrow, and this is going to show us every card that's in the Bloomburrow set. Then we want to actually just look at legendary creatures to start with. You go to type line, you can type in legendary, and now this is going to show us every legendary card, okay? So we click search these options, boom, we've got all the Bloomburrow legendary creature cards. I was thinking about possibly building around one of the creature types, but I feel like it's actually going to be way more fun to build it around one of the calamity beasts. And I absolutely love the look of, I'm gonna pronounce it Ygra, Eater of All. Now this card just looks like it would be so fun to build a commander deck around. So first things first, let's look at this card. It is quite a high cost card for a commander. It is 5 mana. It has ward, sacrifice of food, which sounds a bit weird at the start, but when you read what this card does, it makes sense. Other creatures are food artifacts in addition to their other types. Whenever a food is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put 2/1/1 counters on Ygra. So essentially, it just turns all of your creatures into food for itself to power it up. So my first thought here is make a deck filled with cards that do things when they die, because if you didn't know, if a card says when it dies, that counts as being sacrificed as well. Not only are you sacrificing these creatures for counters on Ygra to gain life, but also to trigger additional abilities for themselves. How do we start building our deck? So that is with the other site called Architect that we're going to use here. This is going to take us, this is essentially a deck builder website. But now we're going to go on new deck, give it a name, first Commander deck brew. So add cards from search. We know we want Ygra. That's our commander. So we're going to type in Ygra, and there we go. We're going to click on this little plus symbol here, and now if we click close, you can see that Ygra is in our deck. So building a new deck from scratch can be a really overwhelming task, but like any overwhelming task in life, this gets easier if we break it down into smaller segments. So let's start with the most obvious one when we're starting to build a commander deck, and that is looking at cards that synergize with our commander. So in this case with Ygra, we're looking at cards that do things whenever creatures die, because we know we're going to be sacking creatures for food, and also creatures that do things when they themselves die. So let's have a look and see what cards we found. So if we go to text here, we can literally type in whenever well, you can see it's come up because I've searched it before. We're going to type it just for the sake of the video. There you go, whenever a creature dies. And then we're going to click black, green, and then don't forget this part, click on this drop down button. It says exactly these colors. We don't want that because that's only going to show us cards that are black and green. We want at most these colors, so at least 1 or 2. Search for these options, Now all the cards are black or green. Perfect. So we've got this card. Whenever a creature dies, you may put a 1/1 counter on it. So essentially it is like Igra, but it doesn't get 2 1/1 counters, it only gets 1. It's a 4 cost. It's a 1/1. It has Shroud, so as it gets stronger and stronger, it's going to be very hard to kill, which is nice. This could be cool. So we want to type it in. Is it Algae? Was that it? Was that how it's pronounced? There you go. Algae. So now you can see Algae is in here. Beautiful. Whenever a non-creature you control dies, create a pest. So generally, if we can just generate loads of creatures that we don't mind dying, that's going to be really, really good for the deck. Because then we can just sack those little shit 1/1s to power up Igra, which is basically, we don't care about anything else. We want to just sack, gain shitload of life, make Igra as powerful as possible, and maybe some other creatures that do the same thing, like the crocodile that we have, and then we can just swing at face with huge creatures by hopefully giving them trample as well, because Igra doesn't have trample by default. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacks a creature. That is pretty disgusting. This is the kind of card though that maybe makes Commander games unfun. I don't want to just make my opponents unable to play the game. That's not my jam. So let's go back here. Oh, this is creating little tokens for us. It's a free cost. That could go big. Grismold. That's given us cheap stuff. And it's powering itself up with counters as well. It makes us tokens. Tyrannid card. Whenever another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on it. This is just better than that crocodile card, no? Because it's not a 1/1, it's a 2/2, and it allows you to remove the counters for mana. That's just better. So absolutely, we're going to add this in. So if we go in categories, we can actually go on mana value. So we can see we have 1 2-drop, 3 3-drops, 3 4-drops. So we're we need more lower cost stuff. Pitless Plunderer. Rampies. Oh, more 4-drops. Where's all of our cheap stuff? Oh, I could just buff this up until you get Igra, sack it, and then put those counters onto Igra. Oh, yes. Yes. Boom. That's definitely going in. Now, I also wanted cards that care about you having food, as Igra is going to be essentially turning all of our creatures into food. So as long as we have creatures on the board, we are going to have food. So let's have a little look to see if we could find any cards that synergize with the old food strat. Let's see if there's any cards in Bloomburrow that's going to be good in this deck. Now, because we are making lots of foods, because Igra turns of our stuff into foods, anything that has food synergy is going to be nice for our deck. So like this, if you sack a food, then I can tap it to pay 1 life and draw a card. We're waiting till Igra's out. It's not doing anything till turn 5. But what it's allowing us to do is draw a card every time we do that, every time we sack a creature. So this actually would be nice, because whenever you sack a food, as in whenever you sack a creature, it will create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. Only works with Igra if Igra is out. Till the end of the turn. Right, let's have a look at this. I don't know how good this would be, because we're not really filling our graveyard that much, apart from by sacking our stuff. What it does mean is we can sack bigger stuff and not have to worry. It's a 2/2. It's a Death Toucher for 2 mana as well, so it is just good. It might be worth trying, because it is a new Bloomburrow card. It would be fun to try it, so we'll put it in. Now hold up. For each other squirrel and or food, everything is a food. So you play this and you would get a 1/1 counter on it for every creature you control. Whenever you sack a food, create a Grat. That's very good. That could be nice in this deck, so we're going to drop that in there as well. Sack a food to put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Sack a food, you draw a card, and there's 1 life. I think the Greta is just good in this deck as well. So once I had all my synergistic cards done, I wanted to look at some of the core things that made Commander decks functional. So we can break this down into 4 different segments. That is ramp, card draw, removal, and board wipes. Now, generally speaking, we want about 10 cards for each of these segments, apart from board wipes. Board wipes you want around 3 to 5. This is just genuinely speaking, you don't have to stick to these numbers, but but from the research that I've done, it seems to be the case that having at least 10 of these, at least the first 3, is a nice viable option if you want to know that your deck's going to be fairly consistent and be able to compete with other commander decks. So first, let's take a look at ramp cards. Ramp cards are any cards that are essentially going to get you ahead on the mana curve. So we can do this with a couple different ways. One way is to add mana directly to our mana pool, and another way is to add lands onto our battlefield. Luckily, we are playing green, so we are spoiled for choice for options for ramp. This, I really want to put this in a deck. Tender Wild Guide. It's mana ramp, puts counters and stuff. It's just a funny little mana dork. It's rampy. We got 4 ramp spells now. Like, oh, Lena Gardener allows you to ramp if you've sacked food. So this is very, very nice. So this ramps me when it dies. It has Death Touch, Jeweled Eye Cobra. Not bad at all. I mean, that's just good, isn't it? This Solemn Simulacrum. Also, I want to add Smeagol into this deck, but we should probably just look at Lord of the Ring cards in general. But I really want to add this card into the deck because, again, it does stuff when if a creature died under your control this turn, the ring tempts you, so the ring will tempt me a lot if this is out with Igra, and then it also ramps me, so it's doing a lot for me, and I just absolutely love this card, and I was looking for an excuse to play it. It's in the deck. We have a little Smeagol. So card draw is any card that gives us card advantage, okay? So a lot of the time this will be cards that allow us to draw more cards. This is not always necessarily card advantage, so you want to make sure that you are gaining cards, okay? Not just a 1-for-1, but also this could be, for example, playing cards from the top of our library, exiling cards from the top of our library and then playing them. Different ways. Basically anything that gives us access to more cards can be counted as card draw. Foster. Whenever a creature you control dies, you may pay 1. That sounds pretty nice. We're going to add this in, and you can see, look, it's made a little card draw category. Really nice. Whenever another creature you control dies, you may pay 2 life, draw a card. So this is card draw. I love these god cards as well from, I think it's the Feros, isn't it? They're very, very cool. They become indestructible creatures if you have a certain amount of devotion. And also this will allow us to give ourselves another sack outlet if we can't get Igra out as well. This is just like Skull Clamp, right? It's not better because it doesn't kill your stuff, but it's better in this deck because Igra just allows us to kill our stuff anyway. Let's get that in there. That is insane in this deck. You could just essentially play this and draw like over 10 cards. Like, wow, nice. Very nice. Okay. And this again, Season of Loss could be really good. Draw a card for each creature you control that died this turn. So if you sack a load and then play this, you would just draw a shitload of cards. So that's another really good season card I want to add in. This is essentially a Dark Confidant with Offspring, but is it going to kill me too quickly? It's actually so good because it doesn't matter because Igra is going to allow me to gain life. Whenever a creature dies, that creature's controller may draw a card. That absolutely is going in. Next, we've got removal. Now, removal is what it says on the tin. These cards remove things that we don't like. Okay, so this could be anything from a big scary creature to an enchantment that is just providing your opponent with a shit ton of value. So it's really, really important. You're always going to be in situations in games where your opponent's starting to do some crazy stuff and you don't have a direct answer to deal with it. So it's nice to have some removal spells in order to get rid of those things and slow your opponent down. Luckily, removal is one of Black's specialties, so yeah, we're quite good in this category as well. This is very nice. I like it. It's a good card. You can just pay 3 life to destroy something at instant speed. We'll get creature or enchantment. Feed the Swarm. Such a good card. Oh, so it doubles as a removal, or it can be played as a land. Interesting. That's not bad. I like that. That can go in. I could just sack a shitty 1/1. It's not a bad card for 1 mana. Lastly, we want to have some board wipes in our deck, okay? Board wipes reset the board. If you've ever played Commander before, you know that sometimes these games get really out of hand and you're going to have opponents that are just doing some crazy stuff. They have huge boards, and at the end of the day, at this point, any targeted removal is not going to be enough. You just want to wipe the slate clean, and these are where board wipes come in. Choose target creature you control to always about less than... Oh, that is going in. So a Warhammer card. So I love Warhammer, so that's another little props for that. But that is perfect. Oh, this is good as well. Creatures get -1/-4 until the end of the turn. This kills a lot of things. We'll put that in as a wipe. Yeah, this is just so good in our deck. This is essentially a win con. Now, another thing to consider is how are you trying to win the game? How are you trying to close games out? So in this example, Igra is going to be a big creature and essentially have the capability to one-shot people. We want to make sure that Igra's damage is getting through. My opponent should be able to just chump block her if I don't do something to make Igra unblockable, which is the ideal situation, or give her trample so that it stops my opponent from being able to just chump block her with one creature. They're going to have to chump block with many creatures, and with the amount of power that Igra is going to have, they're going to either end up losing their entire board if they block, or have to lose some creatures and take a shitload of damage as well. So it's about making sure that Igra's damage is getting through. Green has plenty of ways to give cards trample, so this is where we went first. Oh, perfect. This gives stuff trample. Gaia's Gift. This is a nice card. Target creature gains reach, trample, and indestructible for 2 mana. That is pretty insane how good that card is. Because it could be a protection spell, it can give something trample. I like it. It's going in. I mean, this definitely ends games and will end games for us, because it would give everything the power of Igra, which is just insane. This is incredible in our deck. We have to put that in our deck. That's too good not to add. That will win me games. Give Igra Fear for 1 black mana. That's exactly what we need. Absolutely. The Black Gate. Make my stuff unblockable. Now lastly, we want to consider our deck's weaknesses. So what things are going to completely shut down our deck? So in this example, our deck is heavily reliant on Igra. If she is removed, then essentially our deck strategy would go out the window. She does have ward on her, but as long as they are willing to pay the ward cost, which is sacking a food, which will be one of their creatures, then they're still going to be able to remove Igra. And if they do that, then we're going to be creating all these tokens for not a lot of reasons. So a few things to consider. Protection spells. If we can give Igra hexproof or indestructible, then this is going to be really good for protecting her. And then also, if we can find other ways to win the game without Igra, then that is going to cover this deck's weakness. So even if Igra does die, we know there's still a few cards in there that's going to allow us to win the game. So you can so this can be a protection spell, or it could be a land. I like that. I'm going to put that in. How is that not good? I can make him a god. Rottenmouth Viper, for sure. I want this in the deck. This goes really well in the deck because it sacks our stuff for us. Again, this would trigger Igra, and it does other stuff with that, with blight counters, and they lose life or sack other stuff or discard cards. It's fun. It's a fun card. Hello there. If you're enjoying this video, then might I suggest you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future uploads, okay? These videos take quite a lot of time to make out of my spare time, so all the likes and comments are greatly appreciated. And I want to see your guys' thoughts and opinions on these videos that I make as well. So let's get chatting, let's build a nice little community for all of the noobs out there. So I'm going to show you how you can start to build your mana base. So first of all, you're going to add whatever basic land you think you'll need. So I've added my forest in here. I'm going to click on these 3 dots and it's going to say land base suggestions. I'm going to click on those, and now it's going to come up with all the lands that it will suggest based on popularity. So it's really nice to get started if you just have no idea where to start. After that, now we need to think of, is there any other kind of utility lands or anything like that we might want to add? These cycle lands are really nice, so I'm gonna add those in because they just mean that if you draw them when you don't need lands, you can just cycle them out for something else. Do have a lot of ways to draw. Maybe we do just put a reliquary tower in. Target creature control connives, where X is the number of creatures that died this turn. So I could connive Igra. That could be good. So that is our first draft of our very first commander deck brew. I hope that you guys found this video useful and maybe even gave you the confidence to start with your own brews. I can honestly say that even though the process is very long, it is so enjoyable and really gets the old creative juices flowing. Let me know in the comments below, what Bloomburrow commander are you going to build next? And I will see you all in the next video. Cheers, guys.